Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. It is Saturday morning and the game tomorrow, let's face it, it is just the next step to winning the league title. That's all it is. It's not a game of massive importance, it's just the next step. Whether you like that or not, it's fact. It is just the next game step. Tomorrow, let's face it. And so let's get right into the video this morning. I did ask a poll question already. I'll just make sure that's done. I've asked a poll question already saying, do you think that the current squad is too small? We've not had many injuries this year. Well, we've had the usual one to Cameron Carter-Vickers at the start of the season. We've been lucky this season, especially throughout the Champions League campaign, that we didn't have a lot of first team regular players injured. James Forrest has been out for the majority of the season. Paulo Bernardo has been out the last couple of games, and he's been sorely missed. And then it looks like that we're going to be without Liam Scales. Looks like we're going to be without Liam Scales for a good part of the season also now, well, the remainder of the season, which is unfortunate for Liam Scales. Lanky's in Amsterdam. Hello from Amsterdam. Good on you, man. Good on you. So yeah, do you think that the squad is too small? Brendan Rodgers has said that he'd like a smaller squad, but there's a fine line. There is a fine line between having a smaller squad of players that want to be at the club and having a small squad of players that, if you get one or two injured, and it's okay at this end. Is it okay at this end of the season for players to start getting injured? And when we look at Callum McGregor, after this season, there is only 3 seasons left of Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor has been a fantastic servant for Celtic. He's been at Celtic since 2001. And when you look at the fact that he started playing for the under-15s back in 2008 in Scotland for the Scotland squad. He started with the Scotland squad under-15s back in the 1st of April 2008. The end of his current contract ends in 2028. That's some amount of time to be playing for Celtic. He's came through the ranks at Celtic. He came through from under-15s to under-17s to under-20s. And from the under-20s went into the first team, then went out on loan to Notts County. Came back to Celtic. And he's just been a fantastic player ever since. But we have to start looking forward. We have to have a stronger midfield. It's a big game. It's a massive game this weekend. The fact that today Callum McGregor will be on the pitch, and if he can join in with training, there's every chance that he'll be involved. Brendan Rodgers didn't say he would start, he would say he would be involved. Callum McGregor said that as long as he can get through the training, he would be involved. Never said he would start or finish the game. But when you look at it, there's 3 players that it's a massive, massive game for them this weekend. It's a massive game for 3 players. And the first player that I want to point out is Alistair Johnston. Alistair Johnston. It's going to be a massive game for Alistair Johnston this weekend. Because I think that when he and Kuhn are in tune with each other and going down the wing, and Alistair Johnston does some overlaps and it allows Kuhn to move inside slightly, I think that it's going to be a massive game for Alistair Johnston. I think that when you look back at the game in January, Alistair Johnston never really... in fact, was Alistair Johnston even playing that game? It's that hard to remember. But you need Alistair Johnston and Kuhn working in tandem with each other on the wing. And I think that because they're going to put a lot of pressure on our wingers to make sure that they don't get the space to get crosses in. I think that they'll double up on both our wingers. They'll be very defensive in their setup at Celtic Park this weekend. So Alistair Johnston has to come into play at that point and allow overruns for Nico Kuhn to get forward, and Jota, because him and Jota in the first 20 minutes of the game will swap sides. They'll definitely swap sides. It's something that Brendan Rodgers does like to do. Now, it's an even bigger game for Luke McCowan if he does start. And I think it is looking more likely that Luke McCowan will start. If he does start, it's a massive, massive game for Luke McCowan, because it allows Arne Engels to go back into the defensive midfield role that Callum McGregor plays, and it allows Luke McCowan a bit of freedom up front. Now, I'm not going to talk about Hatate because I think it's a bigger game for Luke McCowan than it is Hatate. I think that this game will allow Luke McCowan to flourish as a player and to show exactly how technically good he is in midfield. You've got to remember, before Luke McCowan came to Celtic, or when he first came to Celtic, Brendan Rodgers did say, he said, look, when you look at the stats of Luke McCowan, he said, when you look at the stats, statistically, out with Callum McGregor, is the best midfielder in Scotland. He was the best midfielder in Scotland last season, and that's why Celtic went for him. For me, that's why it's a massive, massive game for him, because he has to show how good he is in the midfield, dominating the midfield, making passes out to the wingers, and hopefully a couple of through passes for Daizen Maeda to get onto the back of. Even having shots himself, we all know that Luke McCowan's got a cracking shot on him, and I think that's the reason I think it's a massive game for him, because he needs to show that he ultimately is the player to take over from Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor's got 3 seasons. Will that be the swung son? Will Callum McGregor? I don't think Callum McGregor will sign another contract at Celtic. I think this is in 2028. When we get to the end of May in 2028, I think that will be Callum. He will know by then that it's time to hang up his boots. I think when you look at Callum's interview yesterday, he spoke about, he's mentioned this a lot of times. He keeps on saying it's an honour to play for Celtic. It's an honour to play for Celtic. That's a player that knows at the back of his mind that the clock is ticking down on his career. That's the player that knows that he's not up to the physicality of the game for the full season. And I don't know if there's anything that can be done medically. I don't know if it's just wear and tear on his calves, but he does have the same issue now towards the end of every season. So we need players that can come in and step into the plate, step up to the plate for Callum. Players that can ultimately be better than Callum McGregor in the midfield and dominate that midfield. They know that if Callum McGregor's playing, everyone did it at the beginning of the season, both this season and last season. Callum McGregor, if you nullify Callum McGregor, you nullify Celtic. How many teams put man markers on Callum McGregor this season? They know that he is the man that makes Celtic tick. And that's why I think it's such a massive game. Not for Arnie Engels, who will take his place, but for Luke McCowan that will step into the plate further forward. I think that he will have the most important job to do this weekend at Luke McCowan, more than Arnie Engels. We all know the capabilities of Arnie Engels, and he's a fantastic player, and he's got a fantastic pass. And I think that he will fit into that holding midfield role just fine, the way that he's done it over the last couple of weeks. Now, the next player that I think it's a massive, massive game for, and it's the big stage game. It is the big stage game. It's a game that will be watched by a lot of scouts from down south, and none of them watching Rangers players, obviously. There will be a number of scouts at this game. To think otherwise is absolutely crazy. There will be scouts watching Daizen Maeda at this game to see how he performs. They've seen how he performs in the Champions League. They want to see how he performs in this game. And this is always the testing point. But it's also a big game because Daizen Maeda is finally playing as the recognised striker the way that he is for Japan. He's had to play winger throughout his Celtic career. Can he go out? And we all know that Daizen can score goals. And we all know that when he's on fire, there's no stopping him. Can Daizen Maeda score a hat-trick this weekend? Can Daizen Maeda score a hat-trick this weekend? Nice to see that you're up and about, Hank. Hope you're well. Hope you're well, mate. 3 trees down already this morning. There we go. I don't even know what I was saying. And anyway, if those 3 turn up, and perform to their optimum, if Alistair Johnston plays like the way that we know he can, if he can get forward and help out Nico Kuhn and Jota when they see them swap sides, if Luke McCowan can show the real technical Luke McCowan, the guy that's not scared to take a shot, the guy that can get past defenders, that can turn and take on defenders, take on midfield players, that could turn and get runs past them. If he shows what he can do, we all know that he can do it, but it's the next step level up for him. It's his next step in his Celtic career, to show exactly how important Luke McCowan is to Celtic going forward. And then there is obviously Daizen Maeda. Daizen Maeda is a massive game for him, because he will know as well. And as much as we like to, as much as we hope that it won't happen, I still think that the one big offer that will come in this summer will be for Daizen Maeda, unfortunately. There's no doubt about it that will come in this summer, the way that he's been performing. So anyway, the question was, do you think the squad is currently too small, with Callum McGregor possibly out of the midfield, or potentially, and the fact that he can't finish a 90 minutes, Paulo Bernardo out the midfield also? Is it the fact that we don't have, or is Brendan Rodgers not confident in the youth players that are coming through in similar positions? Is he not confident that the players that are coming through in the midfield can step up to the mark and help the team out, and especially in games like this? And maybe that's why I think that the current squad is a little bit light. And the fact that it is as well, we still don't have a recognised striker that's taken over from Kyogo. Although Adam Maeda is in the team, and I'm taking Adam Maeda to come on and score a goal this weekend again. Make sure, mark my words, he will do it. Adam Maeda loves to score a goal against them, and he will come on and score a goal again this weekend. But with Johnny Kenny further down the ranks, and there's just a young player that's coming through at Celtic. He's not really young now, he's 22, isn't he? So he's at the age where he really needs to be playing more first team football. Are Celtic Celtic are still going to be in the market for a first team striker this summer, which, let's get this game at the weekend done tomorrow first of all, and then talk about the implications of what happened during the game. Right, there's been 93 votes already. Brendan Rodgers' interview yesterday, broken down into segments. He first went on to say that the squad's in good shape, one more day of preparation, assessing a few players' fitness. I wonder who the few players were. I wonder if it was Rio Hutati's fitness. We all know that it's Callum McGregor's fitness, but who else's fitness was Brendan Rodgers alluding to when he said that? He did say that Callum had the same as last week. A decision on his participation will be made today. Despite his injury, he'll be playing through the pain barrier. Is that, ultimately Callum McGregor, you want Callum McGregor to play until the league's done and dusted, and it's mathematically impossible for us to lose the league, which is only another 2 games after this one. He does have the international break, Callum McGregor, to rest and recuperate, so he'll get a week of doing nothing after this game. Does Brendan Rodgers put him in the pressure pot, because we know how good Callum McGregor can be, play him for 60 minutes, play him for 65 minutes, or does he just go, nah, Callum, I want to rest you? If Callum McGregor is even 75% fit, if Callum McGregor is 75% fit, do you start him for 60 minutes? Because we know the damage that he can do in a game like this. We know the damage that ultimately Callum McGregor can do. But then Brendan Rodgers did go on to say that Jamesy Forrest was back in the squad, which was a boost. Paulo Bernardo, some time away from returning. Scales is doubtful and may require surgery. Brendan focused on the recent match against that mob, saying that we need to stick to our intense passing and running game. Don't let them control the nature of the game. Physical fatigue at Celtic. Talking about physical fatigue at Celtic, and perhaps that they might have some physical fatigue as well, having had a game where they won through on penalties the other night. Brendan notes that, look, there'll be some tactical changes with them. He says they may go 4-5-1 or 5-4-1. There's every chance that they'll be switching to a 5-4-1. And I think if they go 5 at the back at Celtic Park, it will be absolutely hilarious. And on Barry Ferguson, Brendan said that he's brought in some tactical changes, going to 5 at the back. Where have you ever seen Rangers go 5 at the back? That's lower league team stuff, isn't it? That's your Kilmarnocks. That's your St Mirrens. That shows you the nature of that club now. It's no longer a big club. Big clubs don't play 5 at the back, and generally we don't play 5 at the back. I mean, even Celtic, when we were in Europe, we didn't play 5 at the back. We may have looked as if we were playing 5 at the back when we were against Atalanta, but it's a different league altogether, isn't it? It's the big boys league. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers then went on to say, he says he believes that it could be a 5-4-1 this weekend. Could be a 5-4-1 weekend. I hope they do. I hope they set up 5-4-1. That'll be hilarious. Park the bus, Rangers. That would be absolutely fantastic. Anyway, Celtic's domestic dominance, despite the Sevco's run in Europe over the last couple of years. If you ask me, I mean, there's been a few comments I noticed this morning on the channel from Sevco fans. They sneak on in the middle of the night and drop comments and then bugger off. And then there's a few of them saying, well, we're the only team in Europe again. Yeah, we're the only team in Europe again. And, well, Celtic winning the league again. Do you know what I mean? It's I'd rather be winning trebles. And let's face it, you can get to a European final and not win it. You can get to a European final and win absolutely nothing. Nothing in particular. So I would rather be in the mix for trebles, because that's what you want to be remembered for. That's the when you get to a player. I mean, look at Tavernier. He's won nothing at Rangers. He's won one league title, and all the time that he's been at Rangers. Anyway, who cares about them? Brendan Rodgers then went on to say, players like Jota returning in this fixture will relish the chance to perform more than football for the supporters worldwide. This is the game that gets you noticed. Brendan sees it as a privilege to deliver joy to Celtic fans globally. Despite the points gap, Brendan Rodgers insisted that the game is never meaningless. It's about pride and rivalry, not just in the league standings, but a chance to cap off a really busy period that started in November with a strong performance against your arch rivals and one of the newest clubs in Scottish football. Brendan overall was optimistic, and he was focused on Celtic's game plan, and he's motivated to leverage the squad's hunger for this fixture, the intensity, to secure a positive result this weekend. It's not just the league standings. We're 16 points clear. They're saying, oh, but we're going to reduce it to 13. Well, good on yourself. But we could increase it to 19. And then where do you stand? I noticed that Alistair Johnston was on a Celtic video yesterday, and he was over the moon about the banger of a tune on about Daizen Maeda. I thought that was quite funny. I just think that was quite funny. But anyway, what do you think about any other players? Baz, they're not in Europe, they're in Europa. It's the second tier of Europe. Yeah, it's Europa. It's European football competition. We know it's the second tier of European football. We know it is the second tier of European football. Imagine 2016, Dembele starting with Jota on the wing and Maeda running at them. We had no bad wingers at that time as well. We've always had not bad wingers. I think that when you look at Jota, Nico Kuhn, for me, it's a massive game for Nico Kuhn this weekend as well. If Nico Kuhn really needs to up his game in this one. Really needs to up his game. But I think if he gets off to a flyer and he gets the help from Alistair Johnson, I think he'll be off. Having smokes on me, like, Jesus. Right, let's jump into the comments and see who is all on this morning. There has been 116 votes. Do you think the squad is currently too small? Or maybe I should have asked, should it also put, do we not use the youth enough? But then again, you all know my opinion on that. The league's too small, and Brendan Rodgers and all the other managers in the SPFL will tell you, like, what game do you bring youth players in? Every game's a must-win. For me, that's why the league needs to be made bigger, so that there's not as many of these games every single week where it's a must-win. You know, you can have the chance to bring on your youth system. William was on first, Big Des, a Catholic Rebel was in, Daniel, Carlin's in, Hank was in. Hope everybody's getting rested. Lots of sun's out here, which is going to be for a blinder weekend. Paul Bear's going for 7-0. Give me your score predictions. Pat O says it's going to be 4-1. Engels hat-trick. An Engels hat-trick. That's an interesting one, because considering that he may be playing further back. If Calmack's not fully fit, he shouldn't play, says Paul Beard. But he's not been fully fit the last couple of games, Paul. And I think that has shown in the first half of games. You've noticed that Callum McGregor's not been his usual self. For me, I wouldn't start him. That's why I think it's a massive game for Luke McCown, because he'll be playing further forward and he needs to show what he can do. Tommy's going for 2-0 Celtic. Hail the boys is going for 1-0 Celtic. Typhoon McFlustery, morning Baz from Surrey Parkhead. Hazel's in the house. Who do you think is better, Kuhn or Czerny? I've never watched enough of Sevco, but I'd say Kuhn all day long. Obviously, I don't watch Rangers at all, so you know what I mean. I couldn't tell you what their team was going to be. I couldn't tell you who's going to play for them or anything. No interested. The only thing I like watching is their meltdowns. Which hopefully we'll have some this weekend. Stephen Johnson's going for 3-1. Hazel 67's going for 4-0. Paul McCoon's going for 7-0. Jerry Cassidy's going for 3-0. The boys. Kuhn all day long. Yeah, I think Kuhn all day long. I've no idea about the Sevco player, so but it'll all come out in the wash this weekend. Who's the better player? Simon Ireland's going for 5-0. Celtic. Alan Stevenson's going for 5-0. Lubo is saying good morning, Baz and Troops. I'll take anything with a 0 and a good display. Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't want a 1-0 though. But if they're going to play 4-5-1, I still think it's unbelievable that you've got a Rangers team are going to play 4-5-1. I mean, that is St Mirren stuff. It's Ross County stuff. No, even Ross County wouldn't play 5 against us. Do they? Do they? How they do it at home, don't they? They play 5 at Celtic Park. Maeda first to score. Sean Short says 3-1. Typhoon McFlustery's going for 4-1. Brace for Kuhn, Maeda and Jota. Brace for Maeda and then Kuhn and Jota. I think one of the midfield players will score. Meltdown's incoming. Let's hope so. Paul was going for 3-1. He's going for 3-1 this morning. Catholic Rebel says Maeda first to score. I think I've got a funny feeling that Brendan Rodgers will try this game. He'll try and get a goal in the first 5 minutes, the way that we normally try and do at Celtic Park. Whatever the score, it will reflect the gap, double figures. And the gap is huge. I mean, they can say what they want. I mean, they can sing and shout about being in Europe, about being in the Europa. Right? They can sing and shout about being in the Europa. The level of football in Europa is absolutely nothing compared to the Champions League. There's no comparison at all. Throughout the years, we've seen the level from the Europa Cup to the Champions League is massive. It's a massive gulf in class. And the fact that we've held our own in the Champions League this year and played some really fantastic football, I think that when you look at it, it doesn't matter that they're still in Europe. Look at the points look at the league. I mean, they beat us to close the gap back in January, and then we just went on a run. You know, we didn't let it upset us. We just went on a run, and we've increased the gap since then. Anyway, moving on. I can't wait to see Schlupp in this game. No messing. Yep, Hazel. I think that's one person I never spoke about. Schlupp. I think that the physicality that Schlupp brings to the game also. He's another player that should maybe be. He will start rather than Greg Taylor, purely for the physicality that he brings. big, tough guy that will not be pushed around. There's going to be some interesting tackles going in this game, and I think that Sloop's going to be one that can hold his own. Their pride won't let them go 4-5-1. Jerry Cassidy, wait till you see this. I think Brendan Rodgers and Kalmak both said they played it in Europe. They played it away to Fenerbahce. They played 4-5-1, 5-4-1. And I think that Celtic are thinking they're going to play 4-5-1. They're going to go really defensive and try and hit us on the break. That's the way that Barry Ferguson used to play. I mean, they were very defensive, counter-attacking team when Barry Ferguson played football, and I think that's the way that he'll have them playing. Can't wait to see Sloop in this game. No Mason says Hazel. Jerry Cassidy says their pride won't let them go 4-5-1. I know it'll be 5-4-1. Or do they go 5 in the middle to try and stop our midfield? They did that before. They did that. That's what they did in the January game. They went 5 in the middle. I wouldn't even let Taylor into the ground, says Paul Baird. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it's cracking. Absolutely cracking. Anyway, I'm going to finish off this poll. It's been 140 votes. That's a nice run. 141. Don't think we're going to get any more. Do you think the squad is currently too small? And 77% say yes. 23% said no. Let's just end that there. And the no's had 1% stolen by YouTube as per normal. Anyway, I might look at some scores later on this afternoon. I'm not sure what I'm doing today. I need to go out and do some stuff. And then if not, I'll be back tomorrow morning. Brendan Rodgers keeping on going on about the inconsistencies, that there's been no change. It's all going to be a case of if there's going to be any leaked information coming out of Celtic today, about Callum McGregor. It's a big Celtic players will be at the ground by now. It's 9:30. They will be at the ground and they'll be getting ready to come out onto the training pitch. It's a massive Brendan Rodgers will be sitting in his office, looking out the window, getting them ready to walk out onto the pitch to see, I don't know if Brendan's out on the pitch before them. Wee Fergie doesn't know what a formation is. Unless his missus comes in balancing a plant on it. What? Anyway, that's me done and dusted. Jota to bag a screamer tomorrow, says boy from Benny Offer. Vincent O'Brien says Celtic champions to win 5-0. I think it could be one of those top high scoring games. Richard Murphy is going for 4-0. Mind the thumbs up, says Lubo. Tam Max says hail. And on that note, have an absolutely fantastic